everyone, and welcome to Joe's Corner. I have assembled a distinguished panel to discuss the state of the game. So right now it's the beginning of June 2nd of the
June 1st.
Oh, sorry, June 1st.
Almost June 2nd.
Right, of 2018, and we're here at Nashcon, and I asked Andrew Hobson, Chris Jackson, Chris Fretz, and Tom Burgess to sit in into this panel to discuss what's the state of the game. What prompted this is that looking around on forums, we hear a lot of wind, and here we're going to discuss actually probably what's happening on the ground. So the first question is the game alive or dead? Is it growing or dying? So who wants to take that up?
Well, clearly it's live.
It's clearly alive. But the state is how do we know it is alive? How do we know it's growing? What do we see out there? Now, I know it, but I'm asking you guys, what do you see out there that's giving you that perspective that it is growing?
Well, I think we're seeing a lot more events now picking back up. I mean, they had gone down when we went through the transition. A lot of things had dropped off, and now, I mean, at least, again, here in the Midwest, and we do seem to be different than a lot of places. It's practically I could go to a tournament every week if I'm willing to drive 2 or 3 hours. And they're smaller. I mean, they're the big ones now we're going for 20, but they're 12 to 16. I think is fairly reasonable of what we're getting on. The nationals are beginning to pick back up. So,
and I did hit my first 20-man tournament in South Carolina last month.
Which is a new area really for having tournaments too. I mean, they have not been known in that area for running a lot
for a long time.
For a long time.
And there was a store in Virginia, a new store, Game Tavern, last month. I think they had 26 players for an in-store event, which was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And there are a lot of new names too. I think that's actually that's the biggest shift is that there's a lot of new people coming into the game now. So there's sort of a lot of the older players maybe have moved away. Some are coming back, but there's been a lot of new players coming in as well.
I tended to do some number crunching at some point. I mean, you got this stuff on rankings. I mean, eventually, you go through and pull the data and just kind of intuitively feel like there's as many events as there has been, maybe slightly smaller, not as more marquee events, but it seems like there's kind of an upswing, at least through there seems to be a lot of stuff going on in April, and now we're through May, and we're coming into June, and a lot of stuff on the horizon, so it wasn't as much there's kind of a down drop through the fall, but then it started picking up quite a bit, it seems. So I just have to take a look at the data.
Yeah, that's a natural cycle actually. After September, it drops down. At the beginning of school, who knows, right? And then May's always taken a little downturn because I'm thinking graduations, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But then it's picking up in June. I just received scores for a group out in Utah, a store in Utah. Just outside of Salt Lake City. All 12 or 14, I don't remember which one it was, all new to the rankings. So that's encouraging, and that's a market that I never seen a result from Utah before, so that's awesome.
I think Kubla Khan was this past week.
Yeah, Kubla Khan Nationals. We had 20 or 22.
I think it was 22, and I think 2 dropped after the first day.
One, and here at Nashcon we had 10 players playing in the Team Yankee, which is the first year that there's been a Team Yankee here at Nashcon, so that's a good start. And we're scheduled to have 14 or so tomorrow for Armies of Lake War.
Could be possibly 16.
Could be 16
if I come in as a regular, but probably 14.
So, and I run the tournaments at Gen Con, and we're right now a couple of months out from Gen Con itself, and we're about half full out of the 26 slots. So I think a couple of them are going to top 20, and again, we're going to have our first Team Yankee event tournament there.
Mhm.
This weekend as well, Minneapolis, because I've got a close friend who lives up there. They're playing today, tomorrow.
Pittsburgh tomorrow too.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty
Legion.
good.
Yeah, Legions game,
So,
that's early for.
so tomorrow, at least three Flames of War tournaments that you guys can hear, but you're a little more central than I am, but.
Mm.
A lot
As
of
long as we
options.
can figure out how to space them out a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Coordination for.
But it's also a case that they're just all happening. I mean, it's not that it's 3 happening in the same weekend and then a month goes on. There's one here and then there's one here and there may be 2 here. And as we start looking, we were looking to try and fit a tournament in here between now and Historicon. And there isn't a weekend between now and Historicon that there's not a tournament happening that we would directly impinge on in the 2 or 3 hours from Minneapolis.
Some of our players that were up here from Atlanta area, talking about stuff in June and July and in Huntsville, Alabama. So.
Yeah,
But
you've got one.
plenty of stuff coming up. We want to.
June 16th in Kennesaw, Georgia, the hobby town there.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. Sorry. I'm afraid it was you.
Well, so that kind of leads into this, which is about communication. So communication for the community. One of those things was the forums on the Battlefront website. So now I've talked to the, in that wonderful interview that I did at Adducticon that most people can't hear for some reason. In it, they were trying, they have plans to bring out a website function for, setting up tournaments, and so that the community can go there and figure out where tournaments are and that kind of stuff. The thing is that it's not there yet, right? So it's not here today. But on the Battlefront forums, I've noticed, and maybe have you guys noticed, not scientifically, but it's a gut feeling, that the traffic actually that site has
Traffic is way down.
way down.
Well,
So
just
Because there's no reason to go there other than looking at tournaments now. Before, you would go and look at rules, or you would look at something else, and you'd look at tournaments too. So yeah, I mean, with the Gen Con, with my Gen Con post on there, I think it's been on there for a couple of months. I've only got 200 or 300 hits on it, and usually it's well over 1,000 by this time. So I think that's a real difficulty in terms of publicizing events, because I know you've got stuff on battle rankings, but same thing. It's just we don't have a good forum right now for
decentralized ones.
yeah.
Because there's.
And
There's
the
people where
Facebook
it's
side,
also
yeah.
on the same niche.
So the thing is, what can we do? I mean, first of all, I wasn't hoping that, I didn't want rankings to be the place that people come to advertise tournaments. Why it could do that role and fulfill that role. But the thing is that, rankings, it's not run by the company, right? It's not run by Battlefront. And you would think that people would go to Battlefront first before they go even hear of rankings, right? So about battle rankings and battlerankings.com. And gotta say it 3 times, then remember.
Well, you'll have it scrolling across the bottom.
Yeah. Flash. So, but the thing is that if you're a new player or interesting or getting into it or something like that, and you want to know more, where do you go? You go to the company's website. Now,
Or their Facebook page, right?
Yeah, or the Facebook page.
But it's
But
hard for
it's
me.
hard, yeah.
You don't see, it's hard to find things through Facebook.
Right.
It's like, you can't just go and say, oh, what's hot, well, what's at the top of the queue, It's-
Right.
I can't even find something on Facebook I saw yesterday without a lot of effort.
yes, Facebook is a tool for the moment. It's very millennial. But yeah, it's all about what's happening in the moment, what's going on, and then in its history, it's gone. It's still out there, but it's very hard to find. So the thing is, if you want to plan for a tournament, where would you go? And if the traffic at Battlefront site is way down, and I'm wondering if that's actually hurting attendance. or if it's, if there's some, what do you think, do you think there's an impact?
I'm sure. I think that, I mean, it's just, again, harder to get the word out there that you're having an event, and especially for larger events that people are going to travel to. It's hard to completely be aware of what's going on if there's no real central clearinghouse for it.
Unfortunately, this event, I had to play as a ringer because we just had to even out the forces. But a lot of people were coming in today, and unfortunately, because I was playing, I didn't get a chance to go chat with them. But we had a lot of
people walking through.
One of the couple that I did talk to seemed like that they didn't know about it. It might have been here had they known so. So definitely could have probably picked a few more with better communication on this end.
What's your observations?
I think the fact that it's so diffuse right now is really screwing it up, because you're right, the TOs have to now post on about 4 or 5 different platforms, and they may not know all of them, and people need to look on 3 or 4 or 5 different places. Not everybody posts everything in the same places, so.
For the one that I'm doing in 2 weeks, the Atlanta group I posted on, the Savannah group I posted on, Huntsville group I posted on, Greenville group, down my local area and into Virginia. Posted on the Team Yankee side, I posted on the Flames of War side, and I posted on the Battlefront forum. So I had to go to 8 places, and I'm sure that I missed a couple of groups, bare minimum, that I just don't know about.
I was aware of it, I just didn't realize you were running it until today.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are, I mean, you point out a good point. There are a lot of area-related Facebook groups for Flames of War players. And I don't know that, I mean, all the ones that you mentioned, I know nothing about. I'm on the NorCal, and I'm on a couple of them that I know of. But I mean, I wonder if it's worth either through battle rankings or No Dice, No Glory, or somewhere to put together a list, just put out a post saying, hey, if you have an affinity group, give us the name of it, and just have some place where it's listed here, either just an alphabetical list or a state-by-state list or something to say, here are the various groups, because with those kind of Facebook groups, then you can create an event. Yeah. And you can have an event there, and you can shop around through looking at the event pages at least. And that's something that doesn't take as much to search. It's not like something on the Facebook page for Battlefront.
Battlefront's going to add something eventually?
Yeah, eventually, but it's, until it's here and you can put your finger on it, it's not here, right? So who knows how long
you still have to get people to go to it.
Yeah, by the way, I'm not saying anything negative about Battlefront. It's just that, I'm being very millennial. I want it now.
I'm not dissatisfied. Like we've just said, there's so many things going on. We can't hardly go to them all. So it'd be great if there was even more. They're a bit bigger, but personally, I'm getting as much gaming action as I possibly could. There's not even. Just talking to your event and the one in Huntsville coming up and thinking, well, God, if I go to StoreCon, I can't do this. If I go to StoreCon, I have enough money to go to Gen Con. So there's no shortage of opportunity for at least if you're east of the Mississippi. That seems to be the big general, and we're lucky because you're in Indiana and I'm in Kentucky, and then Chris is over in North Carolina. Yeah. So we can get there too. So.
And the West, I mean the Northern California, Southern California seem to be really picking up too now. I mean, there seem to be a number of events happening there now.
I'm still doing stuff out of Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas is still going away.
That's people traveling there for Vegas Open or something.
Yeah. I think they've got something there.
You're gonna have to add that one to the list.
Yeah. Plug it, it's a good event. Yeah, January.
Go to Vegas.
January. Yeah. Las Vegas Open.
That's right. From parents say go to Vegas.
Yeah.
My anniversary. Take the lot. Just give her money for the slot machine. She'll be all right.
Well, if we break it down by regions, if we take a look at it, so we've got Northern and Southern California.
Yep.
So it's picking up there. There's some activity in Vegas.
Yep.
I know there's some activity going on in Texas.
Yep.
You said you're going to Killeen here.
Yeah. Killeen, there's a good group in Houston. There's a good group in Austin, and there's a good group in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I think Dallas has one, but they don't do anything other than just get together and
Yeah, I
play.
think they stay pretty close in, yeah. Yeah. And Minneapolis
Yeah,
too.
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, Wisconsin area, and are very active too.
Right.
Screaming Eagles up
How
there.
many folks were at Huzzah? Had they reported that yet? Because that was
I don't know.
the name.
Yeah, Huzzah, is it this weekend?
No, it was past.
Oh, it's past,
Huzzah.
okay. Last weekend.
Tom Mullane from,
Yeah.
he was up there and.
And Jerry Lane.
On their podcast, I was already listening to it about it, so
Mhm.
he was already, what he was supposed to.
No, I haven't got the, I could be sitting in my inbox now.
Okay. I don't know how big it was, I know it did happen.
Well, then if you take a look at, what about the East Coast? Now, we know the Pittsburgh guys.
I think that the guys down in Tidewater in Norfolk, the 757 Rangers
Mhm.
are doing a lot and really, I mean, James Copeland is gonna be on the ETC team, I know, and there are a bunch of them who come up to Masters every time. And they're in that sort of Richmond and South area, I think there are a lot of interest and a lot of events happening.
And the news store, like I said, Game Tavern one.
Yeah.
That's Chantilly.
Chantilly, yep.
I love to go see it, apparently we have alcohol there.
Yeah.
But they help generate, and then there's a new game store in Fredericksburg, the game vault closed. And
Yes.
now it's your hobby place,
Mhm.
and I had a chance, my brother
There's
lives
an
there,
event
so,
there,
yeah, they've done a few things there.
Yeah, I
so
think
it's-
Ed Sales has run
Yeah.
some stuff there.
Yeah, and, okay, and then in Florida, the Southern Nationals is
Yes.
happening, right?
September.
Yeah.
Huracan.
Hurricane.
Why don't you go ahead and promote
You run it?
I'm not running it. I was helpful in getting it down there, Ed, and Rick Parrish
Parrish.
is the one that's running it. From what I understand, it will be,
Early war.
or I know it's early war, it's,
We'll see
You
how
were
next
angry?
one they pick that up.
no, I knew it's supposed to be 12:50, but I had heard rumors that it might be getting moved. I can neither confirm nor deny that, that's just, and it may just be that someone asked me and then got upset when they heard 12:50 and thought it was too small, and I'm like, ah. So, yeah, 12:50 early war, Huracan, Orlando, you can bring the kids, send them off to Disneyland, the wife will be happy, you'll be
Like
happy.
the last weekend in September, 27th or something like that. Yeah, and then early September is Canada Nationals too, which is a lot of fun. I've been up there once to that, and that's
Is that late war or?
that is
or-
mid-war.
Oh, late, 'cause
Mid-war,
late-
that's mid-war.
mid-war, all right.
85 points or something?
Yeah.
Mid-war 85. Huracan is 12:50. Early.
And Historicon too.
And then Historicon, which is 12:50 early. And doubles.
And
Yeah, doubles and Team Yankee. So
And
then
then Gen Con, you've got.
Doubles is
all-
mid-war,
all periods.
85 per,
right, per
Team
side,
member.
yeah.
and
Per
Team
team.
Yankee is 64 points.
Right. And yeah, Gen Con, we have tournaments for all three eras, plus Team Yankee. And still plenty of room in that. And in Indianapolis. Also, yeah, we also have some tanks events and the Flames War Intro events. Again, a good sign, are completely sold out on the second day.
Already?
Yep, so 36 people coming in to learn how to play Flames of War and 48 people coming in to play tanks.
I didn't know they had the, I thought they just walked up.
No, these aren't demo things, but these are longer demo version things. And last year, we ran just the tanks, and Battlefront completely sold out of the tanks, starter sets that they brought, everything they brought.
So very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we told them, I said, when you go there, tell them that we sent you. Able Company sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said they got tired of hearing that. Actually, they really did.
No, they didn't get tired.
They're like, all right,
With
yeah.
money, so.
They walk
yeah.
away merchandise.
Yeah. So, now, so we just talked about all this, you know, what's going on. And to me, it sounds healthy, right? So why are there naysayers on the forums? And why the hell are they so local
Because
about what
it's
was gonna be?
localized.
Yeah.
It is localized.
Yeah.
You have groups that have completely gone away.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that you hear saying, yeah, it was dead.
Yeah.
Because where they're at, they're right.
Sounds like Europe too.
Yeah, well,
They have a harder
to
time.
give you an example, my wife and I are headed to London in a week, and going there, I thought, well, maybe we can get a game together and posted on the Facebook forums and everything saying, hey, I'm coming to London. Is there anybody on any of the forums that are interested in the game? And absolutely nothing. And so I had to dig down and find a store there and get on their affinity page for the game, and finally was able to track down a game. So I'm going to be playing a game there, but yeah, it seems like
going to Bowman.
and going to Bowman, yes. But it seems like there's just not as much definitely there, and I know there are events being canceled there, and so it really is situational in terms of that. And
Yeah, we're lucky.
yes, we are. We're very lucky.
We're in the
Yeah,
Texas
yeah.
area, so.
Yeah, okay, because I find it's not that different of a game, just a little bit of a mechanic. I eased right into it. I just jumped right into it and learned it and played it. I didn't think it was much of a learning curve.
We're talking before.
Yeah, talking about going from 3 to 4.
Yeah, I mean, your tactics have to change somewhat.
Yeah, certainly.
What used to work in B3 maybe doesn't work so well in B4, but something else works a whole lot better.
Well-
So, you spot those and you adjust.
Let me just throw this out there. I don't know, it's just a theory of mine, is that one of the things that is probably people just throw people for a loop is the attacker defender. Where you had, auto attack, auto defend, you knew what your army was going to do, and you picked your offense or defense accordingly. Hey, 99% of the time I'm going to attack, so I'll have all this attack, and I don't have to worry about reserves or that kind of stuff, or I don't think about it. But now, depending on the method, you might be an armor company with deep reserves. Depending on how the scenarios are done.
But that really hasn't changed.
Right.
Because you might be facing another armor company and it's a dice off, and now you're doing exactly what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the important thing is if you're using battle plans, the only way you end up in deep reserves if you bring that on yourself. You have to choose defend to get deep reserves for you. If you choose attack or maneuver, you will not get, no matter what your opponent picks, you will not be defending in a mission with deep reserves. If you're using battle plans. Not everybody's using battle plans. I think West Coast National just did dice off. But yeah, the only 3 missions are bridgehead, rear guard, and no retreat that have deep reserves.
No, rear doesn't have.
Oh, I'm sorry, just no retreat and bridgehead. Those are the only 2 deep reserves.
But you can catch those if you pick like maneuver, because you don't have to defend to get a bridgehead. Some of them, they've got those, it's hard to do, but if I remember the chart right, you can catch the no retreat.
Like, for example, if you did attack maneuver, it's breakthrough, contact, counterattack, dust up, and counter.
It's only if you pick defend.
Yeah.
That's
No, maneuver. If you pick maneuver,
Yeah, but you maneuver guys attacking.
it's attacking, right? I'm sorry, that's the key, is you will never be, if you don't pick defend, you will never put yourself into deep reserve.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, tournaments can do any method, they could go to
Yeah,
the old methods. You guys have done a lot of variations with Able Company.
Yeah, we've been trying a bunch of things to try.
They've done things with the more missions where you roll and everybody uses the same die roll, and then dice are removed from the pool.
Yeah.
Or numbers are removed from the pool for the future. I mean, but there's a way you can get some sort of system going that I'm enjoying for the most part. Just having a vote.
Yeah.
Usually it seems to be okay.
Yeah, I was not a fan of battle plans when they first come out, and I will admit I've changed my thoughts on it. I think it does allow a lot of flexibility in terms of, compared to the other methods.
That's because mostly
In terms of-
you've also put in things in place to reduce.
Yes, to try and reduce that. I mean, that's the thing I still don't like about it, is that you could go to a tournament, play 3 rounds, play the same 3 missions. So yeah, as you've talked about with this tournament, or we've talked about with the TO, picking the numbers for the rolls, and that way you can control what repeats are. I mean, I think there's something in those, but otherwise, I think over the other version of things that we have seen, I'm in favor of Battlefront myself.
Oh, I loved him from the start. I looked at that and went, woo, yes, give me some of this.
I think that's why other people didn't like
Because
it.
it's
And they're like, there must be something wrong.
He's
I don't know.
happy, I got a problem.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Well, oh, no, you're
I
gonna.
would say that, to me, it feels exactly the same. I like a lot of the new bells and whistles with the move orders. I like the artillery options. I like the way they've really changed the dynamic. But the core is still the same. The core is still the same. The only thing is sometimes the morale is hard because, you know, it's just like you guys played a game where you were just grinding away here. And this was Team Yankee, but similar thing might happen in Flames of War. And, you know, that's just something but the morale does not have to be as we know it today. You know, it's already been updated more or less from the front once.
Right.
So if it is a significant problem for a significant number of people, then they can relook it and do some different things and adjust it yet further. And so it's, but for most of the time, I would think for about 80% of the units seem to work okay. It's just those big odd ones.
And they've been talking to us. I think you were on the and you were too about
how to handle
the
units.
big Russian units when
Yeah.
they start coming out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
One thing I would like to see, particularly because I hear a lot of people complain about the two formations, right? Like the ability to put two formations together, and so a lot of people have grief from previous experiences, you know, not used to have single set of core support. I like the ability to take two, but one thing I do think might need to be there, and it's no way to reverse engineer here, but it seems to me, coming from a background of doing maneuver unit plans and operation stuff, you don't generally have two units out there cooperating without some higher headquarters. And there ought to be some premium. If you're gonna have two formations, there should be some upper level echelon umbrella thing. I don't know, a TOC, you know, or something, a tactical operations center.
and I mean, in theory, I agree, but the price you're paying is that everything in that allied formation becomes a support unit. And now you've put 30, half of your points maybe into that primary unit. And a lot of those points are support points.
Right.
So you've got a fraction of your force that if you lose,
That's the game.
it's time to start checking in, doing the once a turn.
Well,
thing.
and that really, I mean, that's one of the things that has changed from V3 is you no longer see a unit that is the absolute minimum combat platoons and everything else is support.
Yeah, the
You don't,
infantry
because
list
that,
is
that, you don't, that is.
Nice job, Battlefront. Solve that problem.
Yeah, and that was a big issue. You know, you would have those on there, and now you have to be honest is the wrong term, but you have to be true to whatever it is you're running in that regard, and
Or assume risk.
yes, you can always do that, and the 60-40 reserve split. I think that is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Because now, there is definitely a body of thought, and I'm definitely one of them, that I want big high point units in my reserves.
Small number of high points.
Small unit of high point, well, it sort of goes hand in hand, but I don't want 6 platoons in reserve.
Right, I'd prefer.
I would prefer to have 2 in reserve, or
On
1.
the side of the big battalions.
That's right.
Yeah, like example for the Germans would be an infantry company with 4 Panthers.
Yeah.
And the 4 Panthers, all of a sudden, here, 4 Panthers in reserve. And then I roll, hey, now I got everything on the table already. Which is, I think it works really well if you plan out your force that way.
Yeah.
Because
You really have to take that 40% into account, because you want 40% plus 5 more points at most in a 1780 game. You want in a 100-point game, you want to be right there with maybe 1 point extra, because there's no reason not to have more off. But that takes a lot of figuring when you're putting, list building is very important still.
It's very painful for me for tomorrow's tournament.
You're running Germans? Yeah, good.
Yeah, we have a pretty good split for tomorrow.
That's
Yeah.
Almost right down the
Yeah,
line.
right down the middle,
So
yeah.
We'll be probably red and blue all day, I think.
nice.
Right.
I got 2 forces for the ringers, so if I have to play, I'm
Mhm.
ready for German or British if needed.
Well, so speaking of what, so, okay, which now that'll go right into my last subject here,
Okay.
which is mid-war and the forces,
I'm sorry.
armies of late war, which is the mid-war rule book, right? And then you have early war and late war rule books. I don't know. My take on it is that the mid-war books and the forces of late war, armies of late war, sorry, seems to be cleaner for version 4, and and early war, late war seems to be messier.
Yeah, I've got all the redundant teams to deal with and all the other conversion stuff that
Adjusting firepowers and ATs.
yeah.
Right? So is that affecting people's view of the game? Like, for example,
Sure.
if your club only plays late war, which has all the toys, right? If your club only plays late war, do you think that looking at that is that what sours people? Versus going, hey, you know what? If you got armies of late war and you were using that book, I think it smooths things way out, much better.
As much as I'm a fan of the game, I'm really not fond of playing late war or early war right now. That's not, like, tomorrow we're playing armies of late war only.
Right.
So, so I'm cool with that. It seems balanced, it seems to work, so. But yeah, when I'm trying to push it into, what did we do for Wolf Creek? We did Italy or something? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I was trying to, and Historicons early, I don't want to play like 1 or 2 early war games in version 4 at all. And Historicon, I'm just not super excited about early war, because again, I feel like I'm trying to force it in there. If they had like the armies of early war, I'd probably dig that, but
That's something for them to consider, because I think looking at I would say success of the Armies of Late War book, it would be great if they would do something similar for the major powers in the early war.
It kind of brings us full cycle back to where we started, right? So you had version 4 kick off with just a couple of books and a very small niche thing, and then sure, there was a conversion book, so you could get by, but it was forcing it to get by. It didn't fit as well. I mean, it was functional enough, but just I just, now that I have version 4 and it's much more fleshed out, and I have Armies of Late War, I just prefer to play those. That's just, I'll play when I need to play and go to events, but if I run something, like I'm running tomorrow, the guys in Tennessee asked me to do something, and they wanted to, I said, okay, well, I want to do 1 or 2 things, mid-war or Armies of Late War. And they have a lot of new players too, and that's part of it. I didn't want them to be having to learn a ton of stuff, having a limited scope for them to focus on. But the lack of options where it really fit well was certainly a big impact over the earlier parts of rolling out version 4. And then as it's come in line with the Desert Mid-War getting flushed out more, and now East Front coming up in the 40 years out, and then Armies of Late War coming out, that really expanded where it worked like at its optimum, where things really hit. So that was an impact on that first question we had.
So, okay.
And I think with the late war, early war, I think it is, we are all veteran players, experienced players. We all play a lot, and have been playing. Yeah, we've been playing for a while. And I think the early war and late war stuff with all the conversions is a lot harder for a more casual player. Because it's more of an investment in really getting into some of the minutia of that conversion.
Well, it's hard for a new player. How's a new player start?
Right. That's also
a new player, like we were just talking about, some like the folks out in Utah or what was it, West Lafayette. They got a bunch of north of you guys.
They're all mid-war.
Yeah. So how do they get into early war right now? Well, it's really kind of problematic for them. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think I honestly think, and I want your guys' opinion about that we really need Eastern Front for mid-war. I think it's holding some people back.
Oh, sure, I think there's gonna be a bunch of people who will get back in once the Eastern Front books are back.
Yeah, sure.
And they can use their Russian armies that has been.
Yeah, right.
So they can get a decent-sized German infantry.
Sure, so much of the Russian
Yeah,
army,
true.
so much of the early war Russian army is usable mid-war, so much of the late war Russian army is usable mid-war. So-
Yeah.
So when they add that, that will
Yeah, I
certainly
think that will bring out.
drastically increases people's options
Yeah.
for existing collections to get in there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm having a good feeling about Stalingrad, so,
Yeah.
and their Stalingrad book. So I'm, seeing how much time and effort and balance I think they put into the Americans and the Italians.
Yeah, and the Army Fist book. I mean, I think they did. The first two books of mid-war were thin, had some issues, and I think they clearly have learned, and those books, the succeeding books, have been bigger, have been better, and more robust. Yeah.
I did like the thin book. I didn't care.
Well,
I like very finite,
Yeah.
sensitive stuff to
Yeah.
worry about when I went to a tournament, but that period is now gone. Now we've got.
Well, and that makes it a lot easier. The one Wolfkrieg I won was because it was narrowed down to Arnhem, and I knew,
Yeah.
and it was red on blue, so I knew everything I was gonna face. I knew beforehand and designed my list for it, so
Yeah, so
when you gotta go to an event where you're facing everything from the romping, stomping Russian horde to another
Yeah.
elite Fallschirmjäger unit, yeah, it's a little tougher.
Yeah. Well, once the Russian book comes out in mid-war, it'll be interesting to see how many open events there are and how many are separated between the Eastern Front. Because that was even in V3, that was always a problem.
well, nationals will be opens, right?
Yeah, nationals will always be
Typically
open,
are,
could
so-
always do that, but for other events, because it was always that balance
Mine
between.
won't be.
Okay, yours won't be.
It'll be themed right up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, of course, I'll be pouting because I'm waiting for my Romanians to.
No one's had two for you to borrow.
I got enough Russians now. Just never get them on the table.
Yeah. So any final thoughts about these subjects, about where the state of the game? So, to me, it sounds very healthy.
Reports of our death have been greatly exaggerated.
I think that's,
I think we're seeing a lot of new blood.
yeah.
We're not seeing 100 people tournaments.
Yeah.
But
I've seen this for a while anyways.
I think once the Russians come in and you get a couple more Eastern Front books, I think then things will those people
And it's never gonna be everywhere.
Yeah.
It's always gonna vary from region to region, and I know there are people who are, completely turned off by it still right now, and that's okay. I mean, that's.
It's a hobby. You're
It's a
supposed
hobby,
to be
yeah,
having
fine,
fun.
yeah.
You ain't having fun. Go find something else.
One thing too, they had, we were talking earlier about the guys in Britain, Breakthrough Assault Guys. Some of them have taken a big break and now come back. And version 4 was apparently part of, it was, I think, more life issues from what I understood their first podcast, it's got 2 parts.
Yeah.
Just got posted out.
Or something.
Shoot. I listened to the first part and just barely got the second part, but, it's kind of cool seeing some people that took a break for a while and coming back, but it's also, it's hard to compete. There's a truckload of cool games going on.
Yeah.
There's new stuff coming up on Kickstarter, Star Wars
Yeah.
Legion drop, Warhammer 40K apparently is awesome for, long time past 40K players are like jumping back into it. So it's tough. I don't know that things could have been a hell of a lot better, given all the competition out there that what we're
Right.
seeing now. I mean, is it reasonable to expect it'll be much better in the future? I hope some, particularly for the folks in Europe.
Yeah.
I think we're blessed and fortunate that we have more options that we can deal with, basically. But I'd like to see other people have the tyranny of choice. I'd like to see that out there for them. So hopefully that'll come up. So.
All right. Actually, at this time, I'd like to actually make an announcement. Now, the announcement is the location for Masters for this year, which will take place the weekend before Thanksgiving. So the idea is that Masters will always be played the weekend before Thanksgiving, and that location this year is going to be family time games in Indianapolis. So if you are a club and you want your store to host Masters, I would say around the November timeframe, after Masters is over, start lobbying Battlefront for the reason to have it at your store. I think the only thing is that the store needs to be in good standing with Battlefront, and then Battlefront, because the idea is actually to move it around. So it's been in Baltimore a couple times, it's been in Pittsburgh, now it's going to be in Indianapolis. So, you know, if you're a group or if you're a store owner, in that November timeframe, start lobbying Battlefront about having it at your location. And then I'm pushing Battlefront to actually make a decision by the April-May timeframe, so that when, you know, say it's, you know, in Minneapolis or something like that, because there's a great, you know, hey, you guys lobby for it. Yeah, so that if you are planning to go and you're, or that's in your neighborhood, maybe you want to step up your you know, tournament production and try to get yourself a spot in Masters, which by the way is a very fun time. You know, or if you won a nationals and you want to go, now you can start penciling in, you know, how do I get there, and, you know, kind of travel plans and make those, plan out those trips accordingly. So this gives people more preparation for going to Masters. So that's it, gentlemen. I thank you for your time. I think it's late. It's like what, after midnight?
That's all I want.
Or 11? Oh, you got East Coast.
It's after midnight.
And,
And we got another tournament in the morning.
Yep. So we're getting some betting by, some sleep. And anyway, we'll be catching you soon. And thank you for watching.
Thank you.